And provides the horsepower, but the little blue bottle gives it a kick. For years, hot rodders have used injection of nitrous oxide gas to boost engine performance. Now there is a class, Pro Modified, that showcases the nitrous warriors, tire-smoking creations covered by the wildest bodywork in racing. Call them the Gas House Gang of drag racing. And stand by for the swashbuckling, take-no-prisoners wars of Pro Modified from the first annual Eastern Nitrous Nationals. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Race fans in the Northeast have a real treat coming today. Their first look at the Pro Modified stars as headliners in a national championship event. That sand on either side of the quarter mile is an indication that the racing will take place at one very special drag strip, offering an unmatched opportunity for quick times and great speed. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsho. Welcome to Atco Raceway in the Pinelands of southern New Jersey. Very close to sea-level air density, perfect conditions for making lots of horsepower at the first annual IHRA Eastern Nitrous Nationals. With me, ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones. I guess, Ted, the first question is, what is a Nitrous Nationals event?
Well, Bob, a Nitrous National is an entirely new concept developed by the International Hot Rod Association, starring IHRA's exciting nitrous oxide injected Pro Modifieds. But also in the show, we have the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks and the supercharged alcohol funny cars. The bottom line is a Nitrous National.
This quarter mile is the traction center of the East Coast. Let's get a preview now of what we can expect with our pit reporter, Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, like you said, this is one of the most anticipated races of the year for any competitor. This is the track where you're going to run the numbers. And everybody knows that Ricky Smith's 1990 IHRA season wasn't the best of his career, but the man is back. Here we are at the SDP Trans Am's pit area for one reason. This is now the quickest pro stocker in history. 7.088 seconds at over 194 miles per hour in qualifying made Ricky Smith the first man ever under 7.1 seconds with nothing but carburetors and gasoline. The killer is that conditions during race day are better than they were during qualifying. Even Smith admits he has a chance of exceeding that during eliminations. But the rest of the race was just as quick. In Pro Modified, the slowest speed of 16 qualifiers was 191 miles an hour, the first ever all over 190 field with a total of 7 cars breaking 200. Not the least of which was an alternate. Mike Ashley failed to qualify but became the first 200-mile-per-hour DNQ driver. In Pro Alcohol Funny Car, we've got a chance to see big numbers. Remember, this is the track where Bob Newberry cracked the 5-second zone last year. This is going to be a fast race, another fast race here at Atco Raceway. Back to you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Brett. As you mentioned, great weather conditions. Low temperature means dense air, and that makes for high speed. Chance of rain is about 60%. It is a bit breezy, and we expect the temperature to go down perhaps into the 50s later on today. When you own a drag strip, you need something to play with on it. There is Atco Raceway owner Bob Van Sciver's immaculate Hawaiian Punch jet-powered Ford Thunderbird funny car. Those are featured performers in our Night of Fire coverage, and Ted Jones, they really put on a show.
Yes, indeed, they do a lot of fire, Bob. As a matter of fact, Von Sciver enjoys this so much that he bought a second jet car, the Kindle Warrior, which is driven by IHRA's jet inspector, Dick Rosberg. You're looking in the cockpit right now, this car. I don't think it's someplace I'd want to be.
Absolutely not. This, of course, is the business end, and, of course, we have to give you a look at what these cars look like in action. Here comes Bullet Bob Van Sciver in the Hawaiian Punch car. Just watch this, folks. Always a big crowd favorite. All right, the flame out is done, and now it's time for business. Reaching well over 200 miles an hour with a sound that simply has to be heard to be believed. Our ESPN coverage of the Lunaticam's Eastern Nitrous Nationals is brought to you by Suzuki. Your Suzuki dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it. And by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. We'll be back for our first look at the Gas House Gang in action. First round elimination in Pro Modified when we return to Atco Raceway in New Jersey. Welcome back to Atco Raceway, where the staging lights on the Christmas tree await the first round of competition. Although these are the first Eastern Nitrous Nationals to take place here in Atco, they are not the first Nitrous Nationals event ever held. Ted Jones, get us caught up.
Well, down in Carolina Dragway, just outside of Augusta, Georgia, the Dixie Nitrous Nationals, and it was Randy Moore in the final against Al Billis. Billis actually had the slower ET, but pulled a tremendous hole shot start off on the inexperienced rookie Moore to pick up the victory with a 7:06, 195 miles per hour.
The Canadian Billis, your winner in Pro Mod and Alcohol Funny Car, was Larry Dobbs in the final up against Mike Pressler.
Now watch Dobbs actually off the course across that outer boundary to be disqualified. Mike Pressler picks up the win with a 678, 208 miles per hour.
That's a big win for Pressler over Dobbs, who was one of the real heavy hitters in Alcohol Funny Car.
And finally, in Pro Stock Eliminator, it was the Winter Nationals runner-up Terry Adams in the All-Pro Auto Parts car you see in the far lane, taking the victory over the winner at the Winter Nationals, Doug Kirk.
Revenge is sweet. A 736 at 183 miles an hour for Adams, who trails Doug Kirk in season points thus far. Harold Denton, the quickest and fastest Pro Stock driver in history, in third place over Ricky Smith. In Alcohol Funny Car, Larry Dobbs leads Mike Pressler and the defending world champion, Mark Thomas. And in Pro Modified, Wally Stroop is on top. Here's Brett now with a look at the most controversial car in the class, Randy Moore's Lamborghini.
The 1991 Pro Modified season has seen the debut of a million different body styles, it seems, but none more outrageous and none more threatening than the Lamborghini Countach of Tennessee's Randy Moore. The Tostiasti Spabani-sponsored machine didn't qualify at the season-opening Winter Nationals, but it was a completely different story at the Jackson, South Carolina Dixie Nitrous Nationals. The car probably should have won, and Randy Moore himself will admit that only his rookie season of driving kept him from winning the race after being beaten by a hole shot by Al Billis, the Canadian driver. But it's this car itself that has created more controversy than any other since Jim Otte's Black Marat Corvette of last year. And Randy Moore, graduate from the mud racing ranks, has every dollar possibly spent in this machine and the state-of-the-art equipment that it takes to be competitive. But rules changes have already made some of that obsolete. What happened so far this year?
Well, Brett, IHRA decided that our heads were illegal during the middle of the season as far as they wanted to change the rules on us. So we had to regroup and get a set of cast aluminum heads on the car. And we worked pretty hard in the last couple of weeks to have it running here for today.
You had a set of billet heads, or just chunks of aluminum hand-carved into state-of-the-art cylinder heads, and that was pretty much of a move by IHRA that they were afraid would dominate the category with the supercharger. Same thing we saw last year. Do you see domination in this car?
I don't feel so. I feel we were very lucky, had some good conditions at Jackson. I don't feel it was a domination. There's plenty of cars running 80s right now.
The body style itself has been a subject of controversy. It's the first European body style in this category, and its aerodynamics make it pretty much one of a kind. How do you feel about the advantages there?
We definitely love the Tostiasti Lamborghini. The aerodynamics are one reason why we picked the body. We feel that's definitely an advantage, but it's one that's been open for quite a few years.
But it also cost you some money. Blaine Kilby, the chassis builder, really had to build it around the Lamborghini body, didn't he?
Yes, Kilby chassis design is excellent, but between designing the body and building the chassis, it took a lot of work, and we have our own mold, so hopefully there won't be any other bodies out there.
In other words, you don't plan on selling replicas of this thing?
Not anytime soon.
Whether or not this car remains on the edge of killer status remains to be seen. But right now, the IHRA was not only concerned with the capabilities of this Oldsmobile engine in this particular machine, but also the motor in Jim Otte's car and the other stronger supercharged machines. But right now, controversy still reigns supreme in Pro Modified.
Well, when you get a new class, you're going to have these kind of problems. In our first round of Pro Modified here at Atco, Ronnie Sox, the ageless wonder, against the Dixie winner, Al Billis.
Sox turned in a spectacular 7:06 at 197 to move into the quarterfinal round.
Also in that round, two of the closest races imaginable. On the left lane, Scotty Cannon, the hottest driver in the class, against Ed Hoover. Hoover wins by 4/100ths of a second. But then Killer Brooks in the near lane went up against Blake Wiggins and beat him by 19/1000ths of a second. That, folks, is a drag race.
And it wasn't over yet. Here's that controversial car in the far lane. Randy Moore against Bill, 200-mile-per-hour Kuhlman. Watch Moore's motor start to go away at the 8th mile. Kuhlman pulls ahead for an easy victory with a 7:11, 196 mile per hour. Look at Moore over behind Kuhlman, Bob.
I think it must have been an oil line that let go, got on the tires, and gave Randy Moore fits in keeping this car under control. Bill Kuhlman, the father of this class, changed body styles, has done everything in his power to try to get out of a the slump he suffered through recently, got it done there to move into the quarterfinals. And how about Tim McCamus, the defending champion in this class, up against Fred Hahn, who upsets the champ with one historic pass.
Well, McCamus went a 7:01, but Freddie Hahn went 6.74, the fastest run ever in the history of Pro Modified.
There could be more records in the offing. There you see the quarterfinals in Pro Mod. We may see more records fall today. We'll be back for Pro Stock quarterfinal action from the quickest drag strip on the East Coast, Atco Raceway at the Lunati Cams Eastern Nitrous National. Welcome back to the Lunati Cams Eastern Nitrous Nationals. We're going to step away from the nitrous boosted cars right now to take a look at the fastest machines on the planet, burning gasoline through carburetors, Pro Stock. There is Billy Ewing of the famous Ewing and Ewing engine building family out of Snellville, Georgia. He'll be up against the points leader coming into this event. There is Doug Kirk from Kermit, West Virginia.
Well, this is from the middle of the pack. Billy Ewing qualified number 4 with a 7:16, whereas Doug Kirk qualified number 5 with a 7:19. Only 0.03 of a second between these two cars.
They are away. Kirk in the right lane. Got the better start, it would appear to me. But here comes Billy Ewing. He has the lead at half track. This could be a big upset. Yes, Billy Ewing beats the points leader.
Look at the numbers on this. 7:11, 191 miles per hour. They're flying here today at the traction capital. And look as he hit high gear. That's when Billy Ewing managed to pull away from Doug Kirk.
7:11 is under the existing IHRA record. At least that was the case until Ricky Smith came along, and Brett may know his secret.
Certainly everybody in the Pro Stock pit area would love to know how Ricky Smith is making 7.08 second horsepower, but this could be the key right here. The first ever handout paper manifold. It's a Ricky Smith design that he uses to flatter the car with pictures of itself to go faster. You'll see the full color photos of the Trans Am, full color photos of its world famous driver. Could this be the hot setup? If it is, we'll have paper manifolds on every Pro Stock car here. Back to you, gentlemen.
I guess Tricky Ricky doesn't want anybody to see what's under that paper. Well, we'll see what he's got a little later. Right now, it's Carlton Phillips from Woodbridge, Virginia, the number 6 qualifier, up against number 3 from Melville, New York, John Noble.
Well, Noble qualified with a very impressive 7.14, so watch out for him, Bob.
I tell you what's impressive about Noble is that 738 cubic inch Pontiac under the hood. Little trouble there for Carlton Phillips in the left lane. Noble's going to get a couple of car lengths on him and extend it to the finish.
And the numbers just keep on coming. John Noble, 7.13, 194 for the victory. And you'll see Carlton Phillips actually left first on Noble, but the bobble caused him to lift and let the RPMs down. That's why he lost.
I know that you were thrilled to get this Ingalls motor back together, but I think you'll be thrilled with this, too. 713, 194. It keeps going quicker.
Yeah, well, we're trying. It's been a tough year. We broke this thing twice. I think it was primarily the way I was driving it. Going from the 500 to the big motor, you're used to buzzing it. I was buzzing it, and we just kept breaking it.
How much different is it to drive this thing since you were so good with a 500-inch motor?
This is actually harder, faster. The 1-2 shift, you got to be awake.
Boy, I guess it's harder, and it's definitely faster. We've had 2 passes under the old IHRA ET record. In the foreground, Steve Williford will be going up against Terry Adams, the man who won the Dixie Nitrous Nationals. Terry Adams in a yellow all-pro auto parts car. Williford has taken over the Williford family machine run by last year's Pro Stock champion, Tommy Mooney.
Indeed, and Williford, a rookie this year, so watch Adams try and pull a hole shot off on the young man. Let's see if he can get it done. Starter Jim Blakely waiting very patiently now for both drivers to stage. He's also an experienced veteran, Bob.
Little bit of a head job being laid on the rookie Steve Williford here by Terry Adams. Now Blakely starting to move around a little bit. Yeah, that means move it up, folks. We're ready to go racing. Look for the staging lights on the right side of the tree. We're now set. Up come the RPMs, and away they go. Adams with a great hole shot, but it looks a little slippery over there in the left lane. Now Adams starts to pull it out. Boy, that was close.
Terry Adams, 7.12, 194. They're going to run those low 17s, evidently. Let's look one more time at it, and you'll see the horsepower of Adams' big Pontiac engine kick in at the 8th mile mark about right now. Watch him pull and put distance between he and young Williford.
That mark here, 8/100ths of a second from Adams to Williford, and that's a big margin by the standards we've seen thus far today. Now our final matchup in the quarterfinals of Pro Stock. Here he is, Ricky Smith out of King, North Carolina, the 5-time IHRA World Champion, up against Tim Neighbors. the number 8 qualifier, number 3 in the championship last year out of Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Well, everybody's waiting to see, can Ricky back up that qualifying run? He qualified with an incredible 7.08. If he can back it up in eliminations right now, Bob, that'll become the new world record.
Backing it up means he must have another run within 1% of the original mark. And at 7.08, that is no easy task. This is going to have to be under 7.15 seconds to get the record. And there's a race to be won. Good start by both drivers. Ricky Smith in the left lane, and that blue STP Pontiac wins by the narrowest of margins. There's the mark he needed.
Ricky Smith with a 7.12, 194 miles per hour. Let's watch this run one more time. The big STP Pontiac almost nose-to-nose with Tim Neighbors. Now, Ricky pulled ahead slightly at the finish line to pick up the victory.
Boy, this is a big margin by today's standards. 9/100ths of a second.
Well, it almost feels a little anticlimactic. Every single car in the round steps up from qualifying, and Ricky comes out, and we're all ready, and you go a 7.12. It will back up the 08 for the world record, though.
Yeah, it backs up a record right now. We don't want to get too aggressive, Brett. You know, we made a really good run last night, and we just played a little safe and, you know, hope things work out for the best today.
Wow, if Ricky Smith is playing it safe, what is yet to come? By virtue of the quicker ET, he'll have lane choice against Billy Ewing in the next round. Terry Adams will have lane choice when he goes up against John Noble. Up next, we've got quarterfinal action as we go back to the Nitrous cars. The Pro Mod Stars will be back at Atco in just a moment.
Certainly the byword of the 1991 Pro Modified season in IHRA racing has been controversy. Most of that controversy centers on body redesigning, and the redesigning making some of the cars nearly unidentifiable. But there's no question that the debut of the new soft seal 57 Chevy Bel Air of Rob Vandergrift may yet have stirred even more controversy into the sport, if only because of this front end. Most people say it looks more like a 53 Studebaker than a 57 Chevrolet, but this front end is the result of some of the most comprehensive aerodynamic testing ever done on a Pro Mod car, and it's worked. Vandergrift, in testing before the Eastern Nitrous Nationals, ran the quickest door slammer pass ever at these new rules, 6.809 seconds. Well, the front end aerodynamics had a lot to do with that 6.8-second pass. It's this rear deck that had probably more to do with it from a downforce standpoint. And the fins of the 57 Chevy do well to hide just how radical and large this rear wing area is. Vandergrift is obviously pleased with this new car, and it hasn't even run in an IHRA national event yet. But the question was posed, does he believe that it violates the spirit of body redesigning?
Well, Brett, you know, we had a lot of concerns initially. Sponsor, Gary Anderson and I, we talked to a lot of people before we built this car. There was a lot of design, a lot of interest in the changes, but I hope everyone realizes that it's 1991. You know, the purists are not going to enjoy the car. We debuted the car at Texas 2 weeks ago, and the fans really loved it. The racers, there's a lot of mixed reactions to it because it is a little unusual. But like I say, to compete with the Berettas, you know, the new Luminas and things, this car's never been wind tunnel tested. Chevrolet spends a lot of money testing those vehicles. So this is sort of some backyards aerodynamics that we threw together, and you know, to help the people at Aerostar Fiberglass and you know, my sponsors, A&M Soft Seal, USA One Interiors, and all the other people that help. You know, we tried to put something together that would be competitive with them, and I feel like that hopefully people can understand that we're trying to, it would have been much cheaper to build a new Beretta. You know, hopefully they'll understand that we were trying to use the 57 body and be competitive also. I spent a lot of money getting the body redone to keep the fin actually as it was. You know, we changed the front end, we stretched the car, you know, we put some aero dams and stuff like that on it. But we spent a lot of time. I went over 30 or 40 times and talked to the body guys trying to maintain some image of 57. It's really tough to do when you're trying to get aerodynamic.
The controversy won't end here. The beauty of the Pro Modified category is the fact that there really are no limitations on body design or alterations, and you're going to see more and more cars with more and more drivers trying to make things quicker and faster in any way they can. There is a possibility somewhere down the road that the International Hot Rod Association may be forced to place limitations on these bodies, but right now they're content to let the drivers have free rein on what they believe is the closest and most accurate perception of any particular body style.
Well, Brent, we've got a good comparison in our quarterfinal matchups. In fact, our first matchup. Take a look right there at Chris Hunt out of Florence, Alabama. Your standard Pontiac Trans Am. Looks just like it rolled in off the street, right? Compare it with the man he'll be racing against now, the so-called Chevy Camaro of Bill Kuhlman.
Well, this is a 1991 Chevy Camaro, or rather it was. It looks more like a sedan delivery, or maybe an El Camino with a camper top on it.
Or maybe a roller skate. This is the car that beat Randy Moore's equally wild Lamborghini in the first round. There is Beth Kuhlman, Bill's wife, and an integral part of his team. Hunt in the fairly standard Pro Mod up against the wild, wild Camaro of Bill Kuhlman. They are away. Good start for Kuhlman in the left lane. Now a bit of a bubble in the right lane for Hunt. He's going to have to lift. Bill Kuhlman will win in a walkover.
Bill Kuhlman actually slows a little bit from the previous round with a 7.14, 198 miles per hour.
In replay, you could see in the right lane as Chris Hunt carried the front wheels, and when they came down, he had to struggle to get the car back under control. Finally, he lifted. Our next matchup, Killer Brooks, the pride of Youngstown, Ohio, and his opponent will be Wally Stroop, the quickest and fastest car in the class.
Well, Mickey Lawson, the owner of this car and also the ATEX sponsor, the Wrecker Service, is absolutely delighted with the performance this year. They've been on top of it. They picked off the win at the Winter Nationals down in Darlington, and they're on a roll.
Capable of runs at 6.8 seconds, as is Killer Brooks, who has come along in performance this year. Wally Stroop out of Gilbert, South Carolina, won on a red light by first-round opponent Sam Cavazzulli, and it looked like Brooks had a problem off the line there. He has red-lighted too. He'll keep his foot in it, but it's too late.
This one's all over. The win will go to Stroop with a 7:01, 198 miles per hour, and Brooks just a little quick on the trigger. Let's watch it one time. You'll see the red ball kick in right after that front end lift. Right there, Killer Brooks with a foul start.
We'll take a look at it from another angle, and you can see Killer never really came to a full stop. He kind of rolled right through the staging beam, and that will not do. Here now is Ronnie Sox, the elder statesman of the class at some 52 years of age, and his opponent, the car that Brett talked about earlier, Robbie Vandergriff out of Knoxville, Tennessee, in that wild, wild 57 Chevy.
Well, you can bet Sox would like to bump off Vandergriff. Vandergriff qualifying number 1. Sox only qualified number 8. But remember, Sox has years and years of experience. He's liable to do anything right here on the starting line.
That aerodynamic front-end treatment on this Chevy looks like a Barracuda. Beautifully turned-out machine. He's going to win plenty of Best Appearing Car awards this year. And here is the man himself with 24 Pro Stock victories before making a return to drag racing in the Pro Mod class, Ronnie Sox, that 64 Mercury Comet.
Watch Sox staging very carefully. Remember, he'll try and pull something off because he knows that Vandergriff is running the best, at least according to the qualifying times.
A matchup of nostalgia cars. Now, these cars were considered somewhat uncompetitive. You'd be a real crowd pleaser, but you didn't want to bring a car like this and expect to win races. But now, with the aerodynamic treatments that Brett talked about earlier, you can come out and win. Explosive start for both cars. Vandergriff broke something right off the line. Ronnie Sox will win in a walk.
And Ronnie Sox did have the better reaction time. He beat Vandergriff out easily, but look at the ET of 7:01, 196 to move into the semifinal round.
Great run for both cars. You can see in the right lane, though, Vandergriff lifted the front wheels and got absolutely sideways off the launch pad. When he came down, he just couldn't get it going again. And now here is the car we referred to a year ago as the Black Mariah. We're going to have to come up with another nickname for Jim Otte's supercharged Corvette. Now, this is not a nitrous car. This is Fred Hahn, who has already turned in a run at 6.743 seconds today. His opponent will be Ed Hoover out of Kings Mountain, North Carolina.
Well, you talk about psych. Hoover has to be thinking about that 674 run, wondering what on earth can he do to catch the new car right now of Freddie Hahn.
This is a battle of North and South. Freddie Hahn hails from West Seneca, New York. Kings Mountain, North Carolina, the home of Ed Hoover. And both of these guys capable of picking up the victory.
Hahn, one of the most talented drivers on the Pro Mod circuit. This guy cuts you no slack. Jim Otte tunes the car and owns it, but Hahn does an unbelievable job of driving. Watch his reaction times today throughout the race.
Now, this was a very controversial car last year. There was a lot of grumbling among the other racers about how much this supercharged machine should weigh.
Oh, Bob, everybody was worried about the Lamborghini going into the most previous round. Now they're worried about Freddie Hahn.
Good start for both cars. Wheels come up for Ed Hoover. He had to get out of it a little bit, and you don't give Freddie Hahn that kind of an advantage. Great run.
No, sir. Freddie Hahn, a 6.90, 189. That does not back up the 674 and does not set the record.
And so the record will remain in the possession of Wally Stroop, who Hahn will meet in semifinal action here in Pro Mod. You see in replay, the front wheels came up. Ed Hoover never really got into this race. Let's hear from Freddie Hahn now.
Jim Audie's standing right over here, and he's not one that usually will break secrets to the public. But obviously, you've got to be happy that you found something. What did you find?
It's in the fuel system. I know you heard it a million times, but thanks to Bob Newberry and his flow bench and 6 o'clock in the morning nights, we got some deal where we can go quick and stop killing this deal.
I was just going to say, you've got to be...
talked about it at the meet.
You've got to be smiling most because you're not seeing a mushroom cloud when the car goes through the lights.
And you know we've seen a few of them.
Bob Newberry, an alcohol funny car driver, we'll be seeing in just a moment. By virtue of the quicker ET, Ronnie Sox will have lane choice in his matchup with Bill Kuhlman in the semifinals. Freddie Hahn will have lane choice when he goes up against Wally Stroop. There is a look at the cars ready to fire engines for alcohol funny car action coming up next. Back at Atco, New Jersey, and the Lunati Cam's Eastern Nitrous Nationals. We'll put away the nitrous once again now and get ready for alcohol-powered funny cars. There you see Dennis Bedrosian, the local favorite out of Flemington, New Jersey, in his Corvette bodywork. His opponent will be a Canadian, Doug Hearsum from Ontario, Canada, who knocked off the defending world champion Mark Thomas in the first round. To the left of your screen, there is Hearsum beginning to back up after his long, smoky burnout.
Well, Bedrosian qualified with a 6:28, and then he dropped off Anthony Bartone in the first round of competition with a 6:35, so he's going to have to step up here if he's going to make it past this semifinal round.
You can see from the coats and hats in the crowd that it is getting colder here at Atco, and that just means the potential for greater speed. On the left side, Hearsum has a problem. Bedrosian pulls out a big lead and carries it to the finish.
Bedrosian with a 6:08. That's the number he needed. 232 miles per hour to take the victory. And you can bet he and car owner Joe Alexander are very happy with this one. This is the furthest they've ever gone in IHRA competition.
In the near lane now in our next matchup, Frank Manzo from Morganville, New Jersey. And his opponent, the quickest and fastest alcohol funny car of all time from Schenectady, New York, Bob Newberry, who ran faster than his existing record in the previous round, beating Larry Dobbs 5.951 seconds. He'll be looking to back that up now. It looks like Manzo got the whole shot, but Newberry brings the horses to bear and runs away.
There it is. There's the record, making it official, a 5.96. 235 miles per hour, so we have a new 595 world record. We'll take one more look at it. Watch the incredible top-end speed on this car of Bob Newberry. He goes 235.14.
And that will easily give Bob Newberry lane choice in the alcohol final. Now here's Brett Kepner with an IHRA car owner who has an interesting day job.
One of the most anticipated new car debuts here at the Eastern Nitrous Nationals was the first ever pro-modified car built by a famed chassis builder, Don Ness. Equally important was the driver. Past-off Sportsman World champ Pat Moore was going to be in the shoe, this brand new Camaro. But the big story is the car owner. Cleveland Cavaliers basketball standout Larry Nance is back to a sport that you have been involved in for quite some time, although it's not public knowledge.
That's true. Quite a while I've been watching drag racing, going around with IHRA, got Mark Powick, and I've learned quite a bit, and now I got my own car, and I'm happy about that.
What drew you to the pro mods? I know you used to race a 69 Camaro of your own, and that was kind of clandestine because the basketball team didn't think too highly of it, wasn't it?
That's true. And, you know, Camaros are my favorite car, and I like the old style, 67, 68, 69, and I decided to build my own, and, you know, pro modified is a class that I think I should have done it in.
Well, indeed, despite their non-qualifying status at their first ever event, the car showed potential, hitting over 180 miles an hour in the low 750 range. Believe me, by the time we get to the Spring Nationals, this thing will be competitive.
And so Larry Nance joins Jack Clark, the Major League Baseball star, as a car owner in IHRA competition. We'll be back for the Pro Mod semifinals.
One of the biggest single problems facing pro stock and pro modified drivers while they're on the starting line is their forward vision when they're staging up on the starting line in the left-hand lane. The problem is the size of the air scoop sitting on top of the intake manifold that actually blocks the driver's vision to their right therefore blocking the Christmas tree. And a lot of drivers can't even see when they're staging up, let alone seeing the green light, without leaning to the side, leaning back, trying to figure out some angle to get a glimpse of the green when it comes on. But Bill Coolman and the Summit Racing Camaro has solved that problem, taking a tip from the old Stewart and Olson match race team. It's this mirror inside the cockpit of the car that Coolman uses to get an angled view of the Christmas tree to the right of the hood scoop when he's in the left-hand lane. The only problem he's had so far has been pulling his head back to keep it straight to see where he's going when he leaves because of the G-forces wanting to keep his head to the side. But either way, Coolman has a definite advantage over his opponents when he's in the left-hand lane.
Unbelievable. I can't imagine trying to get your head pointed straight under those incredible G-forces when these cars launch. There is Freddie Hahn, who had hoped to back up his ET record, but he was unable to, so it still belongs to this man, Wally Stroop. So what a matchup we have now. Two sub-7-second performers. This should be one heck of a race, Ted Jones.
Well, the number that Hahn's looking for is a 681. That would be within 1% of that phenomenal 674 he turned earlier today. We'll see if Audi can dial it in and Hahn can drive it down there. You know, it's bad enough Audi makes the car run like that. Freddie Hahn is incredible off the starting line. In the first round, he had a 0.60 against McAmis. Then when he ran Hoover, he turned in a 0.44. He is quick off that line.
And reaction time is everything in this sport. There is Stroop taking a little dry hop to make sure that the tires are clean, warmed up, and getting ultimate traction. Now, there's a problem. Look at all that smoke out the back of the car for Wally Stroop. He'll try and drive it out anyway, but it's not going to last. Fred Hahn will have a walkover in the semis.
Well, obviously, Stroop broke something right on the starting line. Hahn, another 690, 6.90, 190 miles per hour. Let's look one more time at the starting line, and you'll see that smoke pouring out from underneath Stroop's car, and obviously there wasn't any point in continuing on.
Stroop wisely decided to lift and save the car to race another day. Now here comes Ronnie Sox in that crowd-pleasing 64 Mercury. Sox does a lot of match racing in this car between national events. His opponent will be Bill Coolman in that wild-looking Chevy Camaro. Opening the doors to get a little bit of fresh air inside those cars after smoky burnouts. That's why they call them door slammers, because the doors work on these cars.
One of the reasons they're going to these radical body styles is aerodynamics and safety, Bob. Coolman tells me that big wing back there that we might call a camper top on an El Camino is very, very necessary and an integral part of the handling of this car.
There you see Sox, one of the great names in pro stock drag racing for many, many years.
Sox actually has the most authentic looking of the vintage cars in Pro Modified right now.
There'll be Sox in the far lane. In the near lane is Coolman, rolling up now to break the electronic beam that indicates the staging area. Come to a stop, lock the brake, bring up the revs, and away we go. Wow, great start for Ronnie Sox. He nails Bill Coolman to the tree. Coolman now trying to come back, but it's too little and too late. Looks like maybe Ronnie Sox hurt the car, but that one was one at the tree.
It certainly was. Sox with a 707. Coolman lost it with a 701. Look at Sox reaction time, a 066. Beth Coolman couldn't believe it. Sox, what a driving job. That car was out of shape. Now he corrects and goes straight. He's got the whole shot. Can he stay out front? Coolman's trying to come back around. Look at the tightness at this finish line shot right now as Ronnie Sox barely pulls it out with that whole shot start. Let's watch a frame at a time.
6/100ths of a second, the margin of victory.
You not only cleared all the mosquitoes out, but you're still not too old to teach these guys tricks. 707, Bill Coolman goes a quicker 701, and he got there second.
Well, I tell you, I got a weak motor in here. I've got 4 cylinders that are bad. You can see where it was smoking up everything. And
this is your last motor, too.
I'm really surprised they got this far, to tell you the truth.
Well, final round. Here's Bill Coolman. Like I said to Ronnie, he's not too old to teach people how to drive.
No, they get better when they get older. That's why I still got hope.
Now you're looking at a car that went 674 in the first round and has run a couple of shutoff 690s. What's the game plan?
Well, I'm just going to go up there and do my best. I'm going to try not to red light, but I don't know if this thing's got another run in it or not. It had 4 cylinders. It had less than 60% linkage on the last run, and I think I got a couple more of that run. I just got a fuel problem, and we just hadn't found it yet.
Well, that's not a good sign for Ronnie Sox, the veteran, who gives up lane choice to Fred Hahn as we get ready for the Pro Mod final. Hahn hoping to continue that amazing string of sub-7-second performances here. We'll be back for the Pro Stock semifinals from Atco. the Eastern Nitrous Nationals, it's time for Hot Rod Shop as Brett Kepner turns for a moment to subjects technical in racing. Here's Brett.
Anybody who campaigns a high-horsepower street-driven car or a car that sees both drag strip and street duty knows you've got to keep it street legal. And that includes Department of Transportation-approved street tires in just about every state. But how do you put a lot of horsepower to the ground when you're running on hard rubber street tires? Well, Paul Winter, the man who owns a Buick T-Top Type Regal with a turbocharged V6 engine that runs up to 2 seconds under the national standard, has the answer. It's these DOT-approved but sticky rubber racing-type tires. And, Paul, you're the man who has put these to probably the best use of anybody, because this is a car that will probably boil the tires on a stock street configuration at any point. What's the trick? How much are these worth?
Worth a good half a second over a regular street tire.
Now, you were talking, in fact, earlier about the fact that it's worth about a half a second in the first 60 feet.
That's right. The rubber's much softer on these.
Now, also, these tires will probably wear a little bit quicker on the street. Do you have to treat them any different when you're cruising around?
Well, I wouldn't use these for regular street use. They're just strictly for racing.
So if you were in a situation where you had a car that you were strictly using for cruising and also took out to the racetrack, these would still fill the bill, right?
Definitely, but they won't last too long.
How much money are we talking for these tires?
$300 for a pair.
So for $300, you can pick up probably a half a second, maybe a little more if you're conservative off the starting line. The trick is, how long can you get out of them just racing them?
I got 1 year out of them last year, a whole season.
So a $300 investment will keep you with that kind of improvement for the rest of the season then?
Yes, sure will.
So there's a piece of information that anybody can use. If you're tired of spinning the tires on the street and you want to hook up at the drag strip, then these soft rubber compound DOT tires are the perfect trick. But keep in mind, once you start hooking up that power, there's probably going to be a weak link somewhere else. And we'll talk about that in the next installment of Hot Rod Workshop.
All right, thank you, Brett. With that, we're ready to move on now to semifinal action in pro stock. There you see John Noble, who knocked off Carlton Phillips in the previous round. His opponent will be the man who won the Dixie Nitrous Nationals earlier this year. On the left side of your screen there, the bright yellow Pontiac of Terry Adams.
Terry Adams is on a roll. Qualified with a 7:14, then dropped Wilford with a 7:12. Now he faces Noble. He's number 2 in the points and closing fast on Doug Kirk.
I just can't get over the times we're seeing out of these pro stock cars. Consistently under 7.2 seconds. Just phenomenal performance today here at Atco, New Jersey.
Well, Bob, as you pointed out earlier, the air is definitely here at Atco, and this track is the traction capital of the East Coast. Phenomenal traction, especially off the starting line.
And don't forget, the IHRA has a special Sonny's Automotive 200-mile-an-hour club, and it's not going to be too long before we'll see our first entry. Good start for both drivers. Adams looks to be dropping back a little bit in the left lane. Is it going to be John Noble?
Incredible. What a finish. John Noble, 7:17, 193 miles per hour to move into the final.
Let's take another look. I didn't want to call that one at the finish line. Good start there for John Noble. You see Adams lifting the front wheels on the left lane, but Noble keeps the front wheels down and runs straight and true to a very narrow finish. Look at this at the lights.
Only Noble's starting line reaction of a 0.75 won this race for him, Bob. Noble ran a 7:17. Adams ran a 7:11.
Buddy, you know that was a close one.
How close?
How about a 7:17 to a losing 7:11? You nailed him on the line.
Oh, man. Yeah, we felt it shake a little bit, and I didn't see him next to me. He's running real good, and we did the best we could.
Just made him the quickest loser in pro stock history.
Well, now we'll see who will meet John Noble in the finals of pro stock. In the near lane, Ricky Smith, the 5-time pro stock world champion, up against Billy Ewing, and this should be another great matchup.
Bob, the crowd wants to see another 0 from Ricky.
He gets the front wheels up, but he keeps his foot in it. Ewing appears to have about a bumper length advantage. Wow, another race too close to call, but the electronic timer says it's Ricky.
Ricky Smith with a 7:12, 194 miles per hour, and that one was literally bumper to bumper through the lights.
Tricky Ricky Smith, known as a great starter, but actually in that run, Ted, he had nothing on Billy Ewing.
Well, Billy Ewing turned in a 7:11 elapsed time. Ricky turned a 0.93 reaction time. Ewing a 0.98. we're going to show you something here that once in a while happens in professional drag racing. It's called the nose slam wheel trip syndrome. Now, it appears that in the far lane, Billy Ewing wins this race, right? No. Let's back him up and take one more look at it. You're going to see what happens. Ewing goes over the top of the beam with his nose and trips the beam with his wheel. Ricky tripped the beam with the front of his nose and won the race.
It is hard to believe that in a race where you go 7:08 and dominate the class, the quickest run in history, a new world record, that you had to rely on a whole shot again. 7:11 for Ewing, 7:12 for you. You got him.
Well, I don't know how. It's hard for me to get a good light with these big motors, but I'm just trying to do the best I can, Brad. This STP Pontiac's been a good car today, and we set the record up here this weekend. I just hope we can go and win the race now.
Boy, Ricky Smith has to have had one of the greatest weekends in pro stock history. A 7:08, 7:122, 7:121. He'll have lane choice against John Noble when we return for final round action from the Winati Cam's Eastern Nitrous Nationals. Alcohol Funnies, Pro Stock, and Pro Mod coming up.
This bench gets a professional...
We are now ready for final round action in Alcohol Funny Car, and there is the new record holder for ET and top speed, Bob Newberry out of Schenectady, New York, 5.951 seconds at 235 miles per hour.
Well, Newberry's been really storming this year. He set the record last year as the IHRA's only 5-second alcohol funny car. Now this year he comes back and lowers the record to a 5.95. This is Jack and the Giant Killer right here against a relatively newcomer on the IHRA trail, Dennis Bedrosian from Flemington, New Jersey, with fellow car owner Joe Alexander.
But Bob Newberry just about unbeatable here at Atco. Record performance after record performance. There's a look into the cockpit of Dennis Bedrosian. Up come the RPM. The lights flash their way. Good start for both cars. They are side by side at half track, but it looks like Newberry will take it.
Newberry wins it with a 5.98, 235 miles per hour. Bedrosian gave him a game try at 6:02, his fastest run of the weekend.
Well, we talked about Ricky Smith's great weekend earlier. 5.95, 5.96, and now a 5.98. An incredible series of runs for Bob Newberry. You'll see the winning margin right there, less than a half a car length. That is side-by-side drag racing. Let's hear from Big Bob.
It is simply amazing how you can do it. 5.98, the speed again, 235 miles an hour. If you ever wanted to back up a record, that's as backed up as they get.
Yeah, we were pretty consistent. We almost got bit in the final and shook the tires out there in the middle. That's why it slowed down a little bit. But fortunately, it didn't get real bad, and I drove through it and run 5.98. I guess Dennis ran real good. He ran 6:02, and I knew he'd be tough to beat.
Just incredible. Your performance was astounding. His was amazing. He had never gone quicker than a 6:11 before this race. An 08 in the last round and an 02 233 against it. He was ready.
Well, Dennis has been around a long time, and he knows how to drive. Joey Alexander's tuning the car for him. Joey's pretty good, too, so we know it'd be a tough final.
That was the 8th career IHRA Funny Car victory for Bob Newberry. And now we will have our pro stock final. There is Tricky Ricky Smith, who has been absolutely unbeatable this weekend. And like Bob Newberry, very, very consistent in both top speed and ET. His opponent will be John Noble.
Well, if Ricky can pull this one off, he'll set another record, and we're not talking about an ET or mile-an-hour record, Bob. Ricky will become the winningest professional driver of all time in IHRA history. Right now, with 25 victories, Big Daddy Don Garland holds that position.
Now, John Noble is going to be no pushover here. He's got a 7.13 and a 7.17 coming into this round. So Ricky Smith is going to have to pull out all the stops. He very nearly got caught by Billy Ewing in the previous round. In fact, Ewing went quicker, but Ricky Smith nailed him to the tree with a better reaction time. He'll have to duplicate that performance right now against John Noble. Great starts for both drivers. I think maybe Noble got away earlier. Let's see if the mountain motor of Ricky Smith can pull it out for him, and it does.
Oh, easy win. Ricky Smith, there's the O, 7.09, 194 miles per hour. Well, that lays all the rumors to rest. Ricky can definitely run an O one more time. It was in the car, and he punched it out. Reaction time, 0.92. Not bad at all.
And you could see the smile on his crew member's face as he talked with his driver on the radio. This is one great drag race. Great runs by two professionals right down to the wire. Noble actually had about a car length deficit at mid-track. Ricky Smith just drives around him all the way to the finish. Even a premature chute can't stop him.
Well, Brad, you know, last night we made a real good run and was kind of soft on the clutch here. I didn't want to shake today. In the last run, I said, man, we got to go for it. So we screwed some clutch in it, and she come alive. You know, I got to say, without Charlie Buck Jr., you know, Tim Buck, Randy Kalman, we couldn't have done it. You know, I mean, this STP Pontiac has been unreal today. It's shown what it's got, but it's got some power. And if it weren't for the boys in the shop, we couldn't do it.
Well, I keep harping on consistency. Now in our Pro Modified final, there you see Fred Hahn. His rounds of competition thus far, a record 6.74 seconds, followed by a 6.90 and another 6.90. The unbelievable performances just keep coming. Now, Hahn is going to have no easy run. There is Ronnie Sachs. At 52 years of age, he can still lay a tree on you at the start.
Ronnie Sachs has been having problems all day. He has not been in the sixes yet. But remember, Sachs has uncanny reflexes on the starting line when he needs them.
He said earlier he thinks he's got a few weak cylinders in that big Ford V8, and he's got smoke out of the headers, but he still gives it a run. Hahn takes a couple of car lengths off the start. I don't think Ronnie's going to do it.
Ronnie Sachs lost that engine he was worried about. You saw the smoke come out from underneath it as he went through the trap. A win for Freddie Hahn with 6.90 a lap time, 196 miles per hour.
A great view from the starting line as Fred Hahn puts a leave on the leaving master, Ronnie Sachs. But as Ted pointed out, Sachs is losing that engine, and you can't do that against a guy like Freddie Hahn. Let's hear from our winner now down at the top end.
It's been a long time coming, I think, and we worked all winter long on something here that's pretty stout, you know, and we just hope we can keep repeating this, you know.
Well, Freddie Hahn not about to give up any secrets today. He takes the win, and we'll be back with a look at the season points. Stay there.
Brett Bodine.
Back once again in Atco, New Jersey, in Waterford Township, in the southern part of the Garden State, where it has been an amazing day here at the Lenati Cam's Eastern Nitrous Nationals. Ted, how about a look at the season points following this event?
In alcohol funny car, Larry Dodds has a commanding 500-point lead over Mike Pressler. World champion Mark Thomas is in third. And in Pro Stock, Terry Adams and Doug Kirk in a war with Adams taking the lead at this event. Ricky Smith moves to third place. In Pro Modified, Wally Stroop is ahead. Now, with his closing comments, here's Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, year in and year out, Atco Raceway produces incredible numbers and astounding racing. And we saw amazing side-by-side battles and even more incredible numbers from this edition. In Pro Stock Eliminator, Ricky Smith at 7:09 and a qualifying 7:08 proved he's not only back on top of the hill, he's also leading the race to the 6-second zone. And John Noble certainly had to get a morale boost from his runner-up finish. In Pro Modified, Ronnie Sachs may have had the starting line reaction advantage all day long, but it's awfully hard to beat a car that's running 6.74 seconds. Fred Hahn and Jim Otte may be on their way to another hat trick. And in Pro Alcohol Funny Car, Bob Newberry, 3 straight 5-second runs, resetting both ends of the national record with an equally incredible performance by runner-up Dennis Bedrosian. How much better can it get? We've still got a full season of IHRA drag racing, and I guarantee it'll get wilder. Back to you, gentlemen.
Well, I don't know if we can get much better than we had here at Atco. This track always yields up some record times, Bob.